You are now tapped in with the Hood Mystic.
Your favorite astrologer's favorite astrologer. Your favorite mystic's favorite mystic. Time to tap in now.
You are traveling with the Hood Mystic.
Peace to the tribe, peace to the collective. Yes, yes. It is the Hood Mystic, representing hoodmystic.com, whiterabbitpsychedelics.com, and columbianexchange.com. Let me get my mic together. I've been writing this book and putting this book together, and with all of that taking place, I haven't been making a lot of content. Once the book is done, which is going to be very soon, I'll be back to making content, but a lot of my content is going to be solely on bringing awareness to who we are as spiritual beings, not who we are as Black people, not who we are as men, not who we are as women. All of those things are very interesting concepts. However, I feel that there is more to this reality than just the regular mundane things that we are being told. And writing this book has actually changed my life, because if anybody has ever took a Chakra Nova course or a shadow work course or any of the courses that I've taught, any of the books that I've written, I've actually applied the knowledge. I've actually experienced the reality for which I'm bringing forth. And so it's a very indirect process for which that I will be laying out in the book, which I'll be laying out in this video / article. But if you apply the indirect process, you are guaranteed results, because your spiritual nature is very powerful. Okay? Your lack of understanding is what really triggers the idea of weakness. But when we release that idea of said weakness, we are indoctrinated and initiated into the religion of self, the religion of the soul. And writing this book has just changed my life so positively and tremendously, and I'm just so happy to share it with you guys that I have to rededicate my content to elucidating the information that is going to be in the literature. Is because the reality of all things that I do, if I come through with the secret code to unlocking the matrix in all of its totality, if you don't input the code, then you will not experience the unlocking of the matrix. So that is very important, moving into this new fiscal year, as well as new energy, as we'll be talking about today in reference to the full moon in Gemini. So if you heard my introduction, if it made sense, please let me know, because I'm doing a live presentation. The best thing that I can get from you guys is understanding and engagement. So throughout the live, I would be asking you guys questions. Did you understand what I said? Does it apply? And if it does apply, and if you do understand it, let's get in the habit of taking notes. Let's get in the habit of having some retrieval of spiritual information, even if you never retrieve it. I think it's a great practice to ritualize said spiritual information, as opposed to viewing it and looking at the information that I put out on my channel as, entertainment. I've spent no energy into entertaining you more than having a colorful border and a colorful background and having some art and things of that nature. But I really hope that you take the spiritual development seriously. Just said, if you were going to a university or a college or a school, if you hope to retain the knowledge, if you hope to one day apply the knowledge, you're going to have some process of retention. So the easiest way for me to retain information is to journal. But shout out to my artistic brothers and sisters. Shout out to Chris Visions. Shout out to Brand Visions. Shout out to Firstborn Art. You guys could probably journal as far as like artistic or even doodle. But the idea is, don't just passively observe the information, or else I'm going to waste your time and waste your energy. However, if you engage with the information in the process of note-taking, you'll be able to fully be indoctrinated in the science of self, or the science of the soul. If you do not enjoy my rumblings and ramblings, please be sure to check the link in the description. Check out the Substack. I've written another article, something that I tend to do, mainly because I just don't like getting on here and hitting y'all with a whole bunch of mumbo jumbo. I like to get on here as prepared as possible and just relay information, not trying to motivate you, not trying to inspire you, not trying to uplift you, but just to convey my understanding and to possibly assist you. And maybe you don't have the time to study the placements and understand the aspects and things of that nature. So this is something that I enjoy to do. Astrology is something that I actually love and really am passionate about. So I just share that passion with you guys. It's something that I do every 2 weeks on this channel. I've actually been doing this every 2 weeks for the past 5 years. So that just kind of shows my passion to the understanding of the cyclical nature of the universe, and also observing the intelligent design, and also understanding that there is a God, because no human being could create the cosmos in such a perfect alignment, in such a perfect cyclical nature. No human being, you've never seen no human being create a system that is divine as astrology. So as we begin to observe and study this ancient observational science and implement the cosmic understanding and cosmic energy into our everyday lives, you are guaranteed to experience positive results. So before I go any further, I want to say, you may be living, well, not may, you are absolutely living a human experience, but simultaneously to the simultaneously to the human experience, there is a spiritual experience. And within that spiritual experience, everything is perfect and everything is right. And if you cannot feel that, if you cannot grasp that, if you cannot hold on to that concept with all of your might, then you have to release the ego. You have to release the experience of the past, the hopes of the future, and be present in the true and real spiritual experience that everything is perfect. So follow me on Instagram, follow me on Facebook, wherever your social media is at. I'm very consistent with spiritual information and spiritual ideologies, because I also understand that it has to be maintained, it has to be sustained, it has to be repeated, because the spiritual power is just that great. And if you forget about it, to me, my personal opinion would be like you're forgetting about breathing. And so a lot of people forget that they are breathing. A lot of people forget that they are spirit. A lot of people forget that they are perfect. And if you could get one thing from this message this evening, wherever you tend to listen to this message, if you can pull one thing from this message, I want you to pull from this message the perfection of your spiritual beingness, the perfection of your spiritual truth. And no matter what your baby daddy is going through, okay? No matter what your baby mama is going through, no matter what your kids is going through, there is a perfection that exists within you. That experience will always try to knock you off. It'll always try to give you an example or a situation to pull you out of this perfection. And that is a choice. So when you're going throughout your day, it's very important to reflect on the spirit that you house and the spirit that you are. At first, you imagine yourself to house the soul because you really do internalize and integrate ego consciousness into the primordial consciousness. But as we begin to separate, and as we begin to delineate, and as we begin to isolate who we actually are as a spiritual being, and you know, I'm getting kind of emotional at this particular moment, because for any person that is living in the world today, they can forget about their turmoil. They can forget about their trials and tribulations and mistakes. They can say, fuck all of that shit. I am going to reflect on the spiritual being that I am and hold that resonance for as long as I can. And when I say that things begin to work out from this position, when I say that things begin to work out from this point of view, when I say that things begin to work out from this frame of mind, I mean it. And so what tends to happen within the spiritual community and life in general, we are seeking for this advanced, simulative, wonderful experience. And because we are seeking this wonderful, amazing experience, we forget that in every single moment that we're not satisfied, that we're not grateful. We are forgetting that first we house the perfect soul, and then additionally, even deeper, we are forgetting that we are the perfect soul. And so I really want to share that with you guys, because it was something that was the first thought I had this morning, and it's been on my mind the whole day. I've been telling my wife about it, anybody that I talk to about it, because it's so profound. Because at the moment I was reflecting on that idea, I got a huge lump sum of money just, flying out the blue. And I wasn't specifically looking for this lump sum of money, but in relation to the thought of perfection, spirit, and having everything that I want, the synchronicities that come about that reality, man, it is undeniable and unexplainable. And the only way you can actually experience it, if you apply the information and knowledge that I'm putting forth through my books, through my products, through my information, which is not it is ours, for which I share it and give it so freely. And if you need anything, hit me up on IG, DM me, ask me a question. I talk back. If you want to argue, I will argue back, okay? If y'all feeling all right this evening, can I get some ones in the chat? How y'all feeling? Are y'all vibrating with the message so far? I love feedback and things of that nature. Uh-oh. Good. We have the website up. We ship all over the country. whiterabbitsite.com. Read the how to order. Read the website. Don't just be asking questions, because if you ask me questions, then I already know that you haven't read the website. And if you can't read and get a basic understanding, then I cannot help you. But yeah, let me make sure y'all can hear me. All right, cool. whiterabbitsite.com. Of course, the link is in the description. Click that if you want information on how to, do this shadow work in real time. I would really talk about shadow work. I would really, act like I'm doing shadow work until I started microdosing. And what I noticed that every dose that I would take Me and my wife would just be having these real ass conversations, painful conversations, but conversations that we goddamn needed to happen. And if we did not have these conversations, who knows where we would be at today. And I owe the success of my relationship to a consistent usage of microdosing, which would allow me to have the truthful and honest conversations that I didn't necessarily know I could have, that I didn't even know I needed to have. But when you are healing and you are actually trying to bring about the best reality, there is no way that you can bring about the best reality in your life without communicating effectively, honestly, and openly. And of course, I would love your support for my new literary work, A Spiritual Being Having a Human Experience, where I detail the understandings and mechanics of the spiritual experience by the way of sidereal astrology, by the way of shadow work, and by the way of just basic occultism, information, application. There's a 500 word glossary. There's an appendix. There's a lot of, I absolutely did not microdose before I went live today. I actually went to the gym before I went live today. Well, since I've been microdosing, I may have wanted to go to the gym, but I never could get off my ass to go to the gym. I'm an avid gym goer. Even if I'm tired, even if I'm hurt, I'm still going. Today, kind of had a long day because I was up all night writing, took a middle of the day nap, and then I woke up, went straight to the gym. And I'm saying all of that to say, I never would imagine myself to be this driven and motivated to get my health together for whatever reason, right? The ego, the saboteur, the ability to not do shadow work, the ability to not see myself clearly, the ability to project. I was telling my wife earlier, man, I used to just project on all types of shit, you know? That's why I would work so hard doing the YouTube shit, because I wasn't working out. I would be projected, you know, if I could be successful on YouTube, or if I could be successful writing this book. And I'm doing all of these things still, but I've prioritized my health over whether y'all like me or not, whether y'all like my videos or not. However, with that being said, if you are enjoying the content, go ahead and hit a like. It literally take a second to do, and it does a tremendous help to me and my content, and it helps my family. So with that being said, invest in yourself, invest in your spiritual development. Of course, once you buy the book, we'll be able to walk it through, talk it through, you know, but understanding yourself at a spiritual level, as much as conscious people make it seem like it's an easy endeavor, although it may be easy, the application and understanding is very difficult. However, I would love to be your support. I would love to be, you know, somebody that is assisting you in your spiritual development. Nothing would actually make me more happier. That's actually my purpose in life, is to assist myself, in the study, in the science of spiritual development. So within the book, within the context of spiritual being having a human experience, and the overall gist of my work thus far, we have been observing astronomical and astrological occurrences, not for the sake of predicting the future, not for the sake of, you know, being the rawest, interesting person on YouTube, but simply to spiritually develop and understand how the spiritual occurrences affect us personally. So what would happen if you are human, or if you are muggle, or just a regular person? You wouldn't divest energy into understanding the astrological occurrences, because you would imagine that this has no effect on you. The only thing that affects a human is their paycheck every 2 weeks, their job, whether they can pay rent, whether they can pay their car note, whether they can pay their bills, and they go back and forth with that shit for a majority of their life. But a spiritual being is very divested, very invested in the understanding of the astrological energy, because what we are dealing with is electromagnetic frequencies. We, as spiritual beings, are electromagnetic energies that power the vessel. So once the electromagnetic energy shuts down or shuts off, so does the vessel. So you begin to understand that the spiritual work that you do empowers the vessel. So regardless if you have the money, regardless if you're paying the rent, regardless if your physical situation is great or bad, spiritual beings focus more on their diet, focus more on their emotions, focus more on their communication. All of these things reflect their electromagnetics. Humans, on the other hand, could care less about their electromagnetics, even though if their electromagnetic frequency was disabled or disordered, humans get sick. That's an electromagnetic distortion or disruption. Nerve damage, strokes, heart attacks. All of these are in reference to the electromagnetic frequency being disrupted by all types of things, whether it's the diet. There are instances, many instances, where a person can be so mad that they crystallize that anger into cancer. Have you ever heard of that before? Have you ever heard of a person or seen a person who has been in an emotional type frequency that has then crystallized that emotional type frequency into a real disease? Versus a person who understands these sciences of the emotions and the mental and the physical and begins to eat electromagnetic rich foods, begins to meditate, begins to clear the mind, begins to associate with the spiritual understanding, which then empowers the vessel. See, all of these things that I'm referencing, everything that I've laid out is understanding the Gemini principle. We have a full moon in sidereal Gemini. The electromagnetic energy that will be shining down on the earth will be of the Gemini variation. So when we understand this vibration, we also begin to settle into our spiritual truth. We begin to settle in to our divine beingness. In the new moon in Sagittarius video, we discussed Alakshmi. We discuss the black hole. We discuss releasing all of the negative and positive or whatever experiences, releasing it into the void, into the abyss. Okay? And this is very important for Black people. This is very important for Black people because how we grow up and in our families and in our understandings and in our ignorance, we be real mad about shit. We be real upset about shit. We be so in our emotional feelings about shit that we experience. And when we are in our emotions, what you'll start to notice is that you can't shake the shit, you know? And the older you get, the harder it is to shake. I mean, the younger you get, the harder it is to shake. I mean, it's just hard to shake in general. I mean, it's almost to the point that it is not even something that you can escape. It's almost to the point that it is a byproduct of the human experience, depression and negativity and misunderstanding and ignorance, and thus the crystallization of false ideas or the subtraction of the spiritual understanding and the subtraction of the perfection of the spiritual life within the human understanding. because the arrogance of it all. I got my money, I paid my rent, but you haven't specifically healed the emotions and the mental trauma. And it's like, oh, this is cliche, everybody talking about trauma, but these are actual blocks and obstacles that separate the Gemini energy. So we'll be talking about Moon in Gemini. We'll be talking about the Sun transits. We'll be talking about Uranus. We'll be talking about Neptune for time's sake, right? Just want to highlight the conversation that we'll be having. But just jumping into the conversation, we want to discuss the Moon in Gemini. Now, the Moon in Gemini is a very ancient understanding, and even deeper. The Moon in Gemini is a ubiquitous understanding in all ancient cultures. And the reason that the Moon in Gemini is so ubiquitous and so mainstream and so widespread throughout cultures and throughout history is because they are referencing an astronomical constellation and observation. So in these modern times, I think we owe it to ourselves to bear witness to the understandings of the metaphysics of Gemini, or Castor and Pollux, or Cain and Abel, or Horus and Set, or the Hero twins, right? Or the Abeja twins and Orisha, the Mayans and Olmecan culture, the Egyptians, right? The biblical Hebrews. When you reference all of these cultures, when you reference all of these understandings, you are talking about astrology. So where the common Christian gets misunderstood is that they're trying to understand who Cain actually was and who Abel actually was. And maybe that is the introductory understanding of said allegories. The more that you study, the more that you see, the deeper occult mystery is that when we have an astronomical understanding, such as a full moon or a new moon conjunct said astrological energies, then we are on set to said mythologies. In reference to full moon in Gemini, one of the major exemplary experience of this was the death of Kobe Bryant, where you have this mythology playing out in real time, where energy all over the country, all over the world, resonated and reverberated with the untimely passing of a celebrity or a star. So in ancient cultures, when they said Cain and Abel exist or the Hero twins exist, and when they transitioned, they became immortal because that energy or that spirit was in reference to us being spiritual beings and us being one. When that energy transpired, we all felt it in some sort of way. There's countless stories on YouTube and personal experiences of how Kobe Bryant's death affected us and impacted us in a great way. So when you hear about Cain killing Abel, when you hear about Castor and Pollux dying on the battlefield, when you hear about Horus losing an eye, when you hear about the Hero twins going to the 7 layers of death, what you are talking about is the ancient occultation and mythology of shadow work. You're not talking about actual people that have been through this particular experience, because what death does, what sex does, is it awakens you at a spiritual level. And if you haven't actually grieved, like when you not to like you can have a real close relationship with your grandmother, your mother, and or your father, uncle. You know, all of these are valid awakening moments. But usually when it's somebody who is young, right? Because you have the immortalized statues of young people, not like super young, but in their 40s, where people kind of live to their 60s, 70s. You never see an old ass statue because that's not really supposed to happen. So these people become immortalized. But to be immortalized, meaning that you're activating your immortal spirit. So if you ever grew up with somebody, was real close to somebody, and they transition unexpectedly, or they transition in a way that kind of disturbed you or kind of shook you up or woke you up, well, what happened was your brain started to, like, these spiritual things is happening, but you don't have the science to compute it or download it. So now this is what ignites the spiritual development for a lot of people, and that is death. So when Cain killed Abel, it's a mythological and metaphysical understanding of the spirit overcoming the ego, or vice versa. All the counsel you have received has only worn you out. Let your astrologers come forward, those stargazers who make predictions month by month. Let them save you from what is coming upon you. I know there's some people who say, well, I don't need to do shadow work because I don't understand shadow work. And you saying shadow work is not going to inspire me to do shadow work, and I completely understand that. But if you don't see yourself for who you actually are, you're going to suffer because you're going to be stuck in this mundane reality where you got to wake up every morning, you got to work, you got to struggle, you don't find love. Because one of the realities of the spiritual process of something that I've actually had to work through in writing the book is that you actually manifest a deep and true love for yourself, which then becomes a magnet of love from divine feminine or divine masculine energy, whatever your polarity swings to. So when you are, say for instance, out of your energy, say for instance, you are masculine, but you are mundane and a muggle, so that puts you in your feminine energy for whatever reason. You just a bitch made ass nigga, right? Women ain't treating you the right way. They curbing you. When they look at you, they going, ew. You know what I'm saying? You dusty, you crusty. Because you don't actually love yourself to put yourself in the proper energy. And I'm not pointing fingers because I've been there for a long ass time. I'm just now waking up out of my slumber. So there's no judgment from me. Because motherfuckers could have been saying that about me for years, and they was absolutely right. I was in my feminine energy, not in touch with my feminine side. But when you are masculine and you're not fully embracing the masculine and testosterone and hormonal cocktail that represents masculine energy, by default, you in your estrogen, feminine, lazy, not seizing the day type energy. Now, for the divine feminine human beings, what society has done is they put you into full masculine mode. Women don't say, I want to have families and take care of my families. Women say, I got to find a job and I got to make money. Nothing wrong with finding a job, nothing wrong with making money, because there's a lot of females in the workforce. However, there is no actual feminine energy or feminine drive when you reference society. If you tell your boss that you want to be a nurturer and caretaker to your husband and your kids, that nigga gonna look at you like you crazy and say, shit, fuck that, I need you to work overtime. How you got kids and a husband, but you working overtime for money? But you got a husband. Or you don't got a husband. See how that work? When we talk about Gemini and we talk about matching masculine with feminine, we're actually talking about the sincere love for the opposite, or combining the opposites. Forgiveness, tolerance, compassion, compromise. And all of these things are so natural when we are in our masculine energy, when we are in our feminine energy. You don't have to actually think about it. You just naturally sync up. Things just naturally begin to work out for you. So when I'm explaining what I'm explaining it because to manifest, I just thought about this today. Man, manifesting is real. And manifesting is very simple. And manifesting can be very hard if you just constantly block yourself out of it. But when you look at the symbolism of Cain and Abel, where they're not actually talking about a specific event per se, they're talking about an astrological occurrence, and the instruction, if you are to understand the biblical terminology tied in with the metaphysics, then you have an understanding of killing the ego. So what I tend to do to help me with biblical metaphysics is that I will just type something, right? I'll do Cain and Abel, truth, unity, and it's already up there. I don't even gotta break it down too much. And you could kind of read some metaphysics in reference to Cain and Abel. So there's a lot that I'm not about to just read to y'all. I'm just trying to kind of just show y'all what y'all could do to like understand the metaphysics of Cain and Abel, to get out of the actual reality of it, thinking that it's an actual thing that happened. But this is also the dual side nature of ourselves, right? This is why in Egyptian mythology, you see Horus and Set, because once again, the Egyptians are not talking about an actual falcon and an actual eagle and an actual man that got cut up in 13 pieces that birthed the sun. That's not an actual thing. What they're actually talking about is Osiris or Sirius being the 13 constellations, and Horus representing the sun, and the sun transitioning through the 13 signs. But when you look at Gemini, there's an age of Taurus, there's an age of Aries. Right now we're in the age of Pisces. So when you talk about Horus, and you talk about Egyptian, you're talking about an ancient culture. So in that ancient culture was a different age. There was a different symbol for the ruling energy. And at that particular time, the ruling energy was Horus. And Horus represented the sun. And now when we come into like different cultures, the same thing applies. The hero twins over in Mesoamerica, same symbolism, representing the same energy. And they also say that Mercury rules Gemini, right? So when you look at the Bijay, you also have Ishu related to Mercury. And you have all of these kind of like Orishas where some people think that they're actual spirits, but when you get into the study and the science, Orishas is the same thing as 7 major Orishas, 7 classical planets, 7 chakras. When you talk about this mythology and occultism and astrology, you're not actually talking about things outside of yourself. You're talking about spiritually developing or activating the chakras or activating your twin side or your evil side or your shadow side. Shadow meaning darkness. What's the key understanding of darkness? You cannot see. If there's no light, you can't see. So the problem with my black men and women is that they do not see the spirit. The spirit is in darkness. The spirit isn't completely invoked and evoked. It's more of a passiveness of what's new on Netflix, movies, just kind of listening to niggas, not actually involving themselves in the spiritual development, activating their DNA, because they feel that by watching a video, they're going to do something. But before the videos, before the internet, before any of this happened, people had to literally do the work to have these same experiences. So because we are in the age of technology, we're not absolved of doing the work. We still have to apply and understand these ancient understandings and ancient knowledge. So to simplify and to codify Gemini energy, we can refer to Carl Jung, who is quoted to say, in the self or in the soul or in the individual, good and evil are indeed closer than identical twins. When you get into the science of yin and yang, yin is not separated from yang. Yang is not separated from yin. Yin and yang are one and the same. So to flesh out this idea, the non-physical, invisible, perfect spirit is just as visible or just as powerful or just as is wise as the brain or ego or human experience. The known experience and the unknown experience are identical twins. And for my spiritual beings out there, it's very wise and very powerful to meditate specifically on the spiritual aspect of your life during a full moon week. Because the work that needs to be done is just simply that. Because the power that comes from the soul is like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And the darker aspect to this is that in this world, people do not take it seriously. They don't care that they have a soul. They don't care if they have a lover. They just get high and high and high, because it's like, who gives a fuck, right? It's like, who gives a hell if I have a spiritual side? Just give me some Percocets. Just give me some alcohol. Just give me some drugs. Just give me some tender sex. Just give me some plenty of fish sex. Just give me some club sex. Give me some hookah lounge sex. Because I don't want to sit with myself for long enough to self-realize, to self-actualize. I am going to get high. And on the news, you can hear about this stuff. But to the addict, to the user, to the person that is drowning in their sadness, in their fear, in their muggleship, in their human experience, what you are beginning to notice is that there is no solution except the spiritual solution. Have y'all noticed that? One's in the chat. Have you noticed that there is no solution? Working hard is not the solution. Bank account finances is not the solution. Tourist trips are not the solution. Getting different contracts, selling more products is not the solution. Getting high is not the solution. Casamigos, not the solution. Cocaine, not the solution. Percocets, Xanax, sleeping pills, not the solution. Running from your problems, not the solution. Have y'all noticed that they're the only solution in the world right now is for you to recognize who you are as a spiritual being? I laugh at niggas now. I used to get mad. Now niggas is funny to me. It's like being the only doctor in the city who got the cure. I'm not going to kiss your ass to cure you, nor can I administer the cure. How the fuck you expect me to bear witness to your soul when you could do that shit? I know it's hard because I see the black men and women dying, so I know it's hard. I know it's hard. I know that there's darkness out there. But what if I was to tell you that everything you suffering from could be relieved by understanding who and what you are and not whose spiritual clit you are sucking on till it comes in your mouth? What if I was to tell you so please don't fall for the hype. Understand that the moon's transits to Neptune during a full moon are going to heighten the spiritual sensitivity. So if you don't have a spiritual regimen, a spiritual protocol, a spiritual regimen for males, masculines, is testosterone building. A spiritual regimen for divine feminine is estrogen building. Understanding your hormones, understanding your homeostasis. Well, Hood, I don't give a fuck about that shit. I just want to get high all the fucking time. Well, now you know why the fuck you getting high all the time. Your hormones is out of whack. How the fuck? Can y'all explain this to me? I'm gonna pause for a second. I need to pause for a second because the thought just came to me. How the fuck do black men and women care more about their rent and their financial situation? Do they care about the condition of their soul? And then want to be complaining about some shit when the shit all falls down and tumbles. You tried to watch spirituality. Motherfucker said, well, I know how to do shadow work because I seen a shadow work video. I know how to do chakras because I did a chakra video. I know astrology because I watched an astrology video. I know how to ground because I watched a grounding video. I know how to raise my kundalini because I watched a kundalini video. I'm from Atlantis because I watched an Atlantis video. As if it works like that. Niggas is into some cosplay shit. I seen a nigga with a whole goddamn Pope regalia. Niggas done reduced themselves to cosplay. Public rituals. But not internal initiation and self-realization and self-actualization. Because you can watch all of that shit on YouTube and all of that shit on Instagram and all of that shit on TikTok and still crave a Percocet and still be lazy because you haven't dealt with your hormonal understanding. So if your hormones is out of whack, how do you expect to be consistent in anything, let alone your spiritual development? We talking about moods. We talking about energy. And if you in a bad mood, I'm gonna tell you this right straight like this. You ain't gonna give a fuck about spirituality, nothing. You gonna be like, where's the weed at? Where's the alcohol at? Where's the dick at? Where's the pussy at? Cause I'm in a bad mood. And then you got that bad mood energy and you transferring it to an unsuspected bystander. And this is how sexual transmitted disease or spiritual transmitted disease happen. People be in low vibratory energies and just want to latch on to something or somebody. And here your ass go, matching low frequencies and low energies, and then trying to figure out why the relationship ain't work. So we in the energy of Sagittarius. We also in the energy of Mercury retrograde. So Mercury retrograde is a DNA activation for melanated people, period, point blank. Do not fall into any cyborg or any artificial intelligence that tells you contrary that Mercury retrogrades is a bad place for us or a bad experience, for which you need to really get down with the get down and work with your melanin, work with your DNA, work with your meditation, work with your programming. How did people program before the internet? They had journals. People had journals in the 1700s, 1600s, 1500s. This is how people tapped in. This is how people awakened themselves to their soul. Niggas be too busy on Instagram. Niggas have 8 to 12 to 15 hours of screen time. And then be like, well, did you journal this week? Man, I've been too busy journaling. Can y'all make it make sense? Can y'all make it make sense? How the phone in your hands for 12 hours, but the pen ain't in your hand for 1. Let's act like there is no phones. Let's act like there is no computers. How do human beings tap in? Well, they tap in through channeling. They tap in through automatic writing. They tap in through consistent spiritual development and psychic powers and psychic phenomena. Electromagnetic energy, being able to astral travel, being able to lucid dream, being able to program the reality in the dream space, in the astral space, and wake up into what their soul has already created. This is why grandma and grandpa had a house. One's in the chat if grandma and grandpa had a house and we trying to figure this shit out. Did grandma and grandpa have a house or not? One's in the chat. And we talking about slavery, coming out of slavery, racism, right? Things were so bad. Motherfuckers was marching on Washington, things of that nature. But why did grandma and grandpa have a house and we got a studio apartment and 15 kids? How did that work? How are we all supposed to live in this goddamn studio? So when we talk about sex and we talk about masculine and feminine energy, we're talking about manifestation. We're talking about creation, because what we think of as manifesting and working hard and all of that shit is for the muggles, is for the slaves. Who are the kings? Well, a king and a queen. A king and a queen is a divine masculine and a divine feminine who have a kingdom. How do they manifest that kingdom? Through sex magic and channeling divine spiritual energy, and also yin and yang, and also in their divine right state of mind. By being spiritual, in union, in tandem. Now shit is working for y'all. Man, let's act like relationships ain't motherfuckers trying to bail out the first time in some trouble. Once in the chat, you had one argument with the nigga, now you breaking up with him. One's in the chat, she cheated on you one time, now you just done. She cheated one time. Now you want to leave. Niggas don't have no backbone no more. So, at a DNA level, Mercury is DNA. So we have the symbolism or the personification of Hermes or Mercury or Thoth. Once again, we're not talking about creatures or people or real live shit. We're talking about metaphysical concepts. So what is the metaphysical concept? Meaning that beyond or within the physical, there is another world. And one of the crossroads or one of the go-betweens or one of the mediators between the physical and the spiritual world is Mercury. That's why Mercury rules Gemini, because Mercury goes from the DNA, okay, to the brain or to the consciousness. So when you have a Mercury retrograde, you are then dealing with a closer understanding of the merging of two powerful said energies. And it's so important for melanated men and women to get off the bullshit and understand themselves as spiritual beings, as opposed to desiring a mansion or desiring a jaguar or desiring to be a cosplay witch or a cosplay pope or a cosplay Egyptian. Motherfuckers is going to do everything they can to spend $200 to dance and dress up with these niggas. But when it comes to understanding who we are as pure spirits, once we in this country get a small selection of like-minded people who understand themselves as spiritual beings, not as a race of people, but a race of spirits, this whole shit is over. And this Gemini energy represents the climax or beginning phases of the combination of physical and spiritual realities, or the merging, because we have a Gemini full moon opposing a Mercury retrograde. Retrograde just means closer. Retrograde just means more powerful. Mercury rules Gemini. So we have a culmination of emotional, physical, and spiritual energies that need to be integrated and worked with. It's easy if you've been doing this work for a while. It'll knock you on your ass if you just act like nothing of this shit is real, or all of this shit is just about some people outside of you. Because if that was the case, none of this shit would even exist. When we reference Mercury, we're referencing an internal concept. When we reference Mercury, we're referencing the caduceus. We're referencing healing. We're referencing kundalini. We're referencing hormonal activation of the spiritual substance, the amrita. So hopefully, when you are thinking about like what should you do this week, or what's important, or what you should prioritize, hopefully you say my DNA. Hopefully you work with Mercury as a communicator between your DNA activation and programming to what you are hoping to manifest in life. Another way of understanding this energy, Mercury in Sagittarius, is the Eight of Wands tarot card. The Eight of Wands, if you look at the symbolism of the Eight of Wands, you have chaos magic. You have a rainbow. So in reference to this rainbow, you have the activated chakras or electromagnetic energy. The title of this card is called Swiftness. So when you activate your DNA and you have intentions and you heal the relationship between ego, and soul, you now are operating in the realms of chaos magic. You are high vibrational, high magnetizational. I just made that shit up. I felt good. It sounded good, and I went with it. I'm talking about game over. I'm talking about elevation beyond your fears. I'm talking about getting past and over all of the bullshit and standing in your spiritual power. How do I stand in my power, Hood? You merge your soul and your ego at a DNA level through the activation through chakras. What are chakras? Chakras are related to your endocrine system. What is the endocrine system really about? What is it known for? Let's deal with it. Endocrine system function. What does the endocrine system do? The endocrine glands release hormones. Do y'all see that? Do y'all see that endocrine glands release hormones into the bloodstreams? Okay? Now, where's the endocrine system located? Do y'all see where the endocrine system is located? The pineal gland, the pituitary gland, the thyroid gland, the adrenal gland, the kundalini gland, or the conjugal body, the ovary, the testes. Now let's do chakras. Where are the chakras? Oh my goodness, the 7 chakras in the endocrine glands. So, back to this. So what do you actually mean when you say chakras, Hood? Because I seen a spiritual nigga on this other YouTube channel say that we got at least 1,000 chakras. What do you say about that, Hood? Well, if we got 1,000 chakras, how is it going to help you? I'll wait. All I'm saying is that you got 7 chakras that align with your 7 endocrine glands. And if you are able to do the yoga, do the meditation, do the breath work, bring your consciousness to your root, bring your consciousness to your sacral over a consistent amount of time, because you're relaxed, because you're in your parasympathetic nervous system. Now the kundalini begins to rise. And when we say kundalini is rising, we're saying that the endocrine glands produce different hormones into the bloodstream, which causes you to conscious differently. One's in the chat if that makes sense. Once you begin to produce different hormones in your bloodstream, to the observer, it's like, damn, this nigga is magical. But you've just done internal work at a DNA level. Does this make sense? I know it's late. It's getting late. Why you gotta be here? Watch it. Don't. So yeah. The nakshatra for this moon is the Punavasu nakshatra. Last week we talked about Lakshmi, which rules the Mula nakshatra. The opposite nakshatra to the Mula nakshatra is the Punavasu. And so who rules this nakshatra? Aditi. One of the avatars of Aditi is Lakshmi, which Lakshmi has a resonance with this particular nakshatra. Okay? So when we look at life, and when we look at this full moon, and we're looking at both sides of ourselves, we're looking at the ego, we're looking at the soul, and we're merging this, we're also in the science of unconditional love. And you could get all of the money in the world. You ever seen a rich man like Johnny Depp and Amber Heard? Johnny Depp got all of this money, got to deal with a crazy ass girl, right? Because if money was the solve all, his girl wouldn't be crazy. So money ain't gonna save you. However, you can experience unconditional love. And men try to figure this out. Women try to figure this out. But it's nothing to fucking figure out. It's nothing you could do to make a motherfucker love you. Okay? You can't make a motherfucker love you. Guess what you need for love? Luck. Guess what increases your chances for luck? Spiritual development. Y'all with me? Or did I just trigger you? The request made through the mantras is that Aditi must be affectionate to those who honor Punavasu. Punavasu is a combination of two stars, Puna and Vasu. The Vedas pray that Aditi should come repeatedly to bless those who worship Punavasu. So we understand Punavasu to be Castor and Pollux, but we're not externalizing the spiritualization of the cosmic reality. We are internalizing the spiritual reality of the cosmos. So Punavasu is just our ego and our soul. So let's read this again. Punavasu is the combination of our ego and our soul, Puna and Vasu. The Vedas pray that Aditi, our higher self or our soul or Sophia, same concept, different regions, different cultures, should come repeatedly to bless those who worship their soul and their ego merge. Their yin, their yang, their masculine, their feminine. Their activated chakras, their kundalini energy, their hormones that are secreted into the bloodstream related to their understanding that everything is perfect. See, when you resonate on a vibration of perfection for a sustained amount, the hormones that you release into your bloodstream is going to be different from the hormones you release into your bloodstream when you're stressed the fuck out from your bullshit ass job. Does that make sense? One's in the chat. So we can begin to understand the metaphysics that are being laid out. Because if we do not understand the metaphysics, we are wasting our time. We are in this process of what they call spiritual masturbation, where all of this shit is outside of us, all of this shit is confusing, and even if I'm dead ass wrong, at least I'm internalizing this shit. At least it makes sense to me, and I have some work to do, because if Punavasu is Castor and Pollux, some stars that are a million fucking light years away, then what the fuck did that actually have to do with me? Aditi does not get tired of coming to bless people. The soul will not get tired blessing you, because the soul has the kindness of the mother, or the unconditional love of a mother. The Vedas have even offered us an easy way to get the soul's blessing. They say that if we listen to a narration of the merits of Punavasu, then we get the same benefits which would have came to us. Do y'all understand what's being said? If we listen to the mythology of Cain and Abel, if we listen to the mythology of the hero twins, if we listen to the narration of the merits of Kobe Bryant, we will get the same benefits. If we understand the external and internalize it, the hero twins or the immortalization of those that we love that have transitioned, we will get the same benefits without death, without transition, which would have come to us. See, you cannot find love. This is what Spirit has shown me. Love will come to you. Love will knock on your fucking door. Love will stalk your ass. Y'all ever had a good stalker? If you ever had a good stalker, I'm sure you was in I'm sure you was in your spiritual bag. If you had a good stalker, I'm sure you was in your spiritual bag at that time, and you kind of came off of it. Then he kind of, went on his own way. So it is clear that Aditi, or the soul, is none other than Lakshmi, the goddess of prosperity. There's further proof of this. Lord Shiva tells Parvati that Aditi is one of the names of Lakshmi. The Sanskrit word Diti means cutting off. Aditi means that which cannot be cut off. Do y'all hear? The soul cannot be cut, no matter how fucked up your experience was with that nigga. No matter how, give me a war story this evening, so I can tell you that I don't give a fuck about it. Because Aditi means that which cannot be cut off. If we understand the narration, if we understand the metaphysics, then we say the soul is something which cannot be cut off. What this means is that when something is given by Lakshmi to someone as a boon, none can take it away. No one can question her as to why she has blessed someone or even given someone a boon. So let's go back to the Eight of Wands. In reference to the chaos magic, let's go back to activating our DNA. Imagine you activating your DNA and worried about a bitch hating on you. How did that even make sense? Imagine understanding the immortal soul that you are and then worrying about if you're gonna die or not. You can't die because you're fucking immortal. It's not even a thing. It's not even a thing that can experience. I mean, as bad as your life can get, I mean, as fucked up as your life can get, you can't even fucking die. This is why we begin to study the soul. Why? Because the soul means something which cannot be cut off. Even if we ignore it wholeheartedly with every part of our being, every fiber of our substance, even if we do not give a shit that we have a soul, whatever we do will lead to a transition, which will lead to awakening. Because even if we just completely disregard it, even if we live the worst experience known to man, it does not fucking matter. When you are referencing melanated men and women, you are referencing the original people. You are referencing the ancient Hebrews. You are referencing the children of the Most High. You are referencing the Atlanteans. You are referencing the Olmecs. You are referencing the ancient creators of all civilization. That's something that can't be cut off. I don't care how much slavery that you put a nigga through. I don't care how much Jim Crow rituals you put a nigga through. I don't care how much COINTELPRO you put a nigga through. I don't care how much mass rituals, mass incarceration, buck breaking. You can do everything to a black man and woman, but you cannot cut off the fucking soul. And if you don't self-realize that or self-actualize that, you will actually believe the enemy's narration of yourself. That's the problem. So when you begin to vibrate and understand the esoterics, I always like to do this, and just bring up the tarot cards in reference to the placement of the astrology to give a further esoteric understanding. And the cards that we brought up were the Ten of Wands, or the Ten of Swords, and the Lovers. These cards, if you look at the lower left-hand corner, you see the glyph of Gemini. You also see Gemini right here. So let's look closer at this picture. Because this is love. You have the divine feminine that is being objectified, that's being worshipped, that's being loved. But the divine masculine, he don't see the pain of the divine feminine. Nor do we care. He just sees something that he loves on the surface. When you look at the Ten of Wands, you see Cinderella leaving the ball. You see Prince Charming trying to give her shoe. And you have this separation of desire and elevation. If you understand yourself to be the divine feminine, or the one who is the one who got away, the one that prioritized spiritual development, the one who prioritizes elevation, then you can understand the metaphysics of this card. One of the symbolizations of this card is ruin or heartbreak. But you gotta also understand that this is the beginning phases to spiritual development. Because if you go from 10 of Swords, what's the next card after 10 of Swords? The last decan of Gemini moves into the first decan of Cancer. So after heartbreak is the Two of Cups. The name of that card is love. So after you break your heart, after you separate from the desire or the lust, and you choose elevation, guess what happens? Love. Oh, you thought the lust and the desire was love. Oh, I see you. I get you. Oh, you thought the toxic relationships was love. Oh, I understand. The metaphysical understanding of the Lover's card, it's many metaphysical understandings. The Lover's is tied into childbirth, right? There is an angel on top of every relationship, and that angel is manipulating the divine masculine and divine feminine to fall in love with each other so they can have sex. So then the angel that is on top of that union can, reincarnate on the planet. That's why once the baby come, be like, man, I don't even know that girl. Like, I don't even know what I was even thinking, man. I don't even know what I was thinking. You was possessed by an angel that was trying to reincarnate. So you calling him a kid, that's really your goddamn uncle. Right? Y'all say it all the time. He been here before. You damn right he been here before. That's Uncle James' ass. Cole manipulated you and your baby daddy to reincarnate. It's a cold game out here. So you got to understand that when you're attracted to people, you got to be doing some intuition and some intuitivizing to figure out what spirit is on top of y'all union. It is and you can really, if you have the cognizance of it, you can identify the spirit too. You'll know if you're going to have a boy or a girl before you even conceive the baby. Because the spirit is bringing y'all together. But when you be in your goddamn emotions and your feelings and your muggle and your human experience, you be actually thinking that nigga is going to be your husband and some shit. He ain't doing nothing but wanting some pussy. And if he don't want no pussy, he don't want nothing to do with you. Damn ancestors got him in the fucking chokehold. Ancestors got you in the chokehold. We talk about unconditional love. We talk about spiritual love. It ain't none of this, hide my scars. It ain't none of this, let me come fuck you on the late night type shit. We talking about honest and open communication, which this love does not represent. This is more of a metaphysical understanding of self. Because when you move into Cancer, when you move into Leo, when you move into Virgo, when you move into Libra even, that's where you get the marriage, right? That's when you get the real relationship. So the Lovers could represent a relationship that was before its time. And, it could have been great and wonderful. But at the end of the day, it was simply for spirits, entities, demons, angels to reincarnate on the earth plane. And then you come to this realization like, oh my God, my heart is broken. I can't believe you lied to me. I can't believe you did this to me. You got to remember that hearts don't break. When your heart break, it just allows the cosmic light to shine in. So when you deal with death, or you deal with loss, or you deal with grieving in some way, you lost your job or whatever shit that you lost, you got to begin to rejoice. You got to begin to open your mind and open your heart to say, okay, why did that happen? And if you can begin to ask yourself why that happened, not in a way that you feel sorry for yourself, but in a space to say, well, like, I need to figure this out. And when you begin to figure out the what's and the whys, it'll be your spirit kind of leading you on a specific scavenger hunt. Now, why is it only through heartbreak? Because if you had $1 million, if you had the nigga with the biggest dick and he had all of the money and he was taking you every fucking vacation spot and you and your IG living lavishly, guess what you wouldn't give a fuck about? Put it in the comments what you wouldn't give a fuck about if you was living the life of fucking the rich and famous. What would you care less about? What would you not give a fuck about? If y'all been understanding the conversation what we've been having, somebody will put in the comments, if you was living you had all of the dime pieces, all of the cars, all of the mansions, everything your heart's desire, what would you not give a fuck about? What would you deprioritize? Your heart is not broken. Hearts don't break. What you are feeling is growing pains. Your heart is expanding in wisdom, compassion, and strength. So one day you can love even more. What do you don't care about when you are in a positive state of mind? When everything is going right for you, what do you then not give a fuck about? The soul's evolution, spiritual development. Hello. Do it make sense now? Why you might struggle a little bit in this bitch? Do it make a little sense why, shit don't be always hitting the way it's supposed to happen? Because why your spirit gonna give you everything that you want and you gonna be acting like it's your damn college degree that elevated you on some shit? Cause you a fucking goddamn nail tech. You out here telling motherfuckers you a goddamn cosmetologist and a nail tech, and the reality is you a spiritual being having a human experience. So, like I said, you can get the full rundown, gundown, link in description, Full Moon and Gemini article on my Substack. If you haven't subscribed to my Substack, go ahead and do that. I got some surprises down the pike. I'm going to be really engaging with my online community in reference to promoting the book, Spiritual Being Having a Human Experience, available January 23rd on your ass. January 23rd on your ass, right? So during this week, man, hopefully you can meditate on the unification of your yin and yang, light and dark, in and out, masculine and feminine. Get that DNA activated so those obstacles can be removed, and you're doing something right when love comes in your life, right? You can't search for it. You can't, buy shit for it. You have to really be sincere about the spiritual development if you want love in your life, because when you understand spiritual development, you understand unconditional love. And then when you start to understand relationships, it's like a choice whether you want to give unconditional love or not. But if you haven't done the spiritual work, you probably be in the realm of conditional love. So even if you do get in love, it ain't love because it's based upon conditions. So spiritual development becomes the actual key to manifesting love in your life, because even if you had $1 billion and nobody to rub your back, you would feel like something is missing. However, if you had $10.99 on your bank account, but your wifey said, don't worry about it, baby, I got some Gawk 3000 for you once you get home, I think, that $10.99 won't hurt as bad. You will wake up recharged to figure it out, right? So with that being said, let me get back to getting to this book. If y'all need me, follow me on IG at thehoodmystic.com, psychedelics, whiterabbitpsych.com, spiritual being having a human experience, columbianexchange.com, If you enjoyed this content and you like, damn, how he be talking like that? He be knowing all that shit and he doing all that. Yeah, I don't know. I just do my microdosing. I work out every day. I make sure I meditate. I listen to jazz. Been removing the stupid music out of my mental diet. And just trying to live as best as I possibly can, regardless of how people feel about me. It's very important how I feel about myself. Internalization is one of the most powerful things that I learned in 2022. If you view yourself as a god, the world will view yourself in the same way. So hopefully y'all enjoyed this presentation. Like the video if you did. Share it to somebody who might benefit from this. And I'll catch y'all on the flip side. Like I said, in 2023, prepare for a lot of content from me. As soon as I get finished with this book, I'm probably going to be on this goddamn platform every day talking about something. But thank y'all for being patient as I kind of put the finishing touches on this thing and deliver something that, is going to help us all. So with that being said, man, I'll see y'all on the flip side. Peace to everybody out there. Love you so much. And yeah, peace.
You are now tapped in with the Hood Mystic.
Your favorite astrologer's favorite astrologer. Your favorite mystic's favorite mystic.